What's up, guys? So, I just wrapped up one of the busiest weeks of my life. My business partners and I, we run a portfolio company for a private equity firm that buys up commercial HVAC companies. And we just finished two transactions totaling $78.5 million in total enterprise value. I definitely enjoy this lifestyle a lot more than I did investment banking, where I worked 100 hours a week just in finance. Now I work 100 hours a week, in finance plus, running this awesome fitness page where I'm getting tons of people results, including myself, obviously, and continuously getting more and more jacked, leaner and bigger than I ever have been, while also having sky high energy and test. But anyway, the point of this video is to tell you that, you're not fat because you're lazy. You're fat because you believed in a system that was built by guys on gear. Okay, so I just want you guys to know, if you haven't watched my content before, I tracked calories, I hit macros, I lifted all the time, I did all the popular programs, strong lifts, starting strength, 5-3-1, even Mike Menser stuff, high volume, Arnold style stuff, I have done everything, okay? And science-based advice, you have to understand, only works if you are a genetic specimen or you're on gear. Because, look at the guys preaching all this stuff, whether they be from bygone eras in the 80s, whether they be now fat steroid dudes who are, hiding behind PhDs in the science, right? You wouldn't know who those people are if they didn't start abusing steroids. You just have to understand that, you're not these guys. So why are you doing what they insist is the reason why they're big, the reason why they're shredded, the reason why they're in the shape you want to be, when the only way they were able to get there was to add unnatural enhancements that destroy your health into the mix? And I want to emphasize the destroy your health part, man. I've seen guys take gear and man, I won't go too deep, but one of the first things that y'all don't realize is that in order to suspend, the big T, I'm not going to say the word just for YouTube reasons, but when people are taking, these gear compounds, they have to be suspended in oil, and that oil normally comes from plants. And we all know what something that rhymes with freed boils does to you, your brain, your body, your skin, your health, your organs. If you can get there just as fast by just doing it properly biologically and keep your health intact, you can have those gains for the rest of your life. You're not going to lose your mind and your gains the second you come off. So that's my trashing gearheads monologue. But in order to crack the case of all this stuff, you have to understand that you were designed to burn fat, not carbs. Okay, so this is with diet, then we'll go into training. But diet, these gearheads, they don't need to produce their own testosterone. They just get it from outside their body. But you need it. You need to increase your fat intake in order to get the test that you need. So that's a big piece. But 2, insulin. It was not meant to spike all the time. That's why these gearheads, they use it exogenously. And as a result, they funnel themselves with tons of carbs. But you don't need that. You shouldn't have that, because then you're just going to be insulin insensitive because you're producing your own. And you're not going to be as sensitive to that spike in insulin. You're not going to be able to lose fat because high insulin blocks fat oxidation. Okay? So this all makes sense. And people are like, oh, okay, keto. No, not keto. You need to increase the fat tremendously high, super high fat. Okay? No plants. Not even no carbs, no plants. Eat steak, beef, eggs, chicken like a king. Feast on that. until you're full, not these little tiny 6 meals a day, little 4-ounce portions, buying the lean stuff at, Whole Foods that your girlfriend buys. No, that's not gonna get you anywhere, and that's not what the old school guys used to get anywhere either. Okay, so like, one second, I'm getting a message on my computer. Okay, so that's diet. Like, it's pretty dang simple to the point where, obviously, to make it work way faster, I talk about the phases of the diet so that you can comfortably adapt, but at the same time, like, you just have to look at how guys functioned and lived before gear. They weren't eating these low-fat chicken and rice diets, so I'll leave you with that. But when it comes to training, like, also, the pre-gear era dudes, they weren't just annihilating their muscles all the time. They were stimulating, not annihilating. And when you do that with the upper body and the legs with proper movements, you get jacked really fast. That's the only way I can put it. Because, I mean, when I was doing bench press and just like, oh, I'm stuck at like 180 pounds, it was disgusting how weak I was. Humans are not meant to be that weak. And I would try to progress, and I would just get shoulder pain. I would just feel burnt out. But like I'm telling y'all, the weighted dips, the weighted chin-ups, same deal with the lower body. You want range of motion. You want deep, powerful, strong movements. You're not going to get that with all the goofy machine stuff. I use some machines as accessories, but not as the main go. Okay? So you just gotta look at how the old school guys did it, man. Because those are the guys that were actually natural. Back when people were jacked. And the only people that were jacked were all natural because gear didn't exist. Why would you not take their advice over the guys who their advice is rooted in gear? And they love to tell you like, oh, gear is only part of it. You still have to work hard. Oh, yeah, obviously, but somewhat that's not true. There are studies saying that muscle mass increased just by taking gear, not even training. But they like to hide behind that. They like to hide behind the science. But in reality, they're just users, man. So stop listening to the gearheads, man. Like that's honestly the summary of this video. And what happened when I listened to the gearheads? Years of frustration, sitting there, accomplishing nothing, looking back on the previous year and just seeing no progress. I hated that. And that's why I spend a lot of time on here. I spend most of my free time making these videos, helping my clients, because I hated how that felt of just spinning my wheels for months, years on end. And it was because the information out there is hidden. It's not, readily available because who rises to the top of the algorithm? The Juicehead, just gear mangled dude who claims, oh, it's not the gear, it's the science. I have the studies to prove it. And then everybody listens to them. Okay? So I want y'all to know, like, your life completely changes when you just revert back to proper biology. Okay? So, like, don't be following the biological standards of guys who need to enhance their biology. Okay? So when you do it the natural way, in my opinion, it works just as fast. Even faster, because I'm gonna be honest with you, most guys that take gear, you only see the successful outcomes. You don't see the guys that reacted horribly. Okay? You don't see the guys who destroyed their lives. You only see what the algorithm filters. Okay? So that's just the whole point here, is that, like, you're not going to be able to thrive and look and feel fantastic and live an abundant life where you're doing way more than just sitting in the gym all day. You can get to the point where you look like you do all that and you're not going crazy. You're not making it your whole life. You're instead enjoying eating like a king, living like a king, training like a king, not like a gear user. Okay? So that's the point of all this stuff, man. If you haven't tapped into just everything I talk about, go watch the video I have in the description where I break down my entire method and watch it all the way through, man. Because if you're not dopamine addicted, I promise you can sit through the video. If you have any questions, DM me on Instagram. I'm always here to help. As always, Jesus is King. Love y'all. Talk to you soon. Peace.